The missing hours. I woke up on my couch, disoriented and groggy. The familiar weight of my laptop had slipped from my knees onto the floor sometime during my unexpected slumber. As a freelance cybersecurity consultant, late nights were my norm, but this felt different. My head pounded with an unfamiliar heaviness, my mouth cotton dry, and my limbs felt like they were moving through molasses. The antique wall clock, a housewarming gift from my sister, read 3:47 a.m. The last thing I remembered was settling in around midnight to watch the latest episode of a true crime documentary, my third cup of green tea growing cold on the coffee table. The familiar blue glow of my TV's Netflix screen painted strange shadows across my living room walls. Everything looked normal, yet somehow off-kilter, like a photo that's been ever so slightly tilted. 4 hours had vanished, leaving nothing but a fog of confusion and an unsettling sensation that something was wrong. My heart stumbled into an irregular rhythm as I reached for my phone, hoping to piece together the missing time. What I found made my stomach drop through the floor of my fifth-story apartment. There were dozens of new photos in my gallery, all taken within the last 4 hours, and they were all of me, asleep, from just inches away. My hands trembled as I opened the first photo, taken at 12:13 a.m. according to the timestamp. It showed me exactly as I must have looked when I first dozed off, slumped against the arm of my charcoal grey IKEA couch, my dark curls falling across my face, the soft glow of the TV casting a ghostly pallor over my brown skin. Normal enough, if unsettling. The next photo, timestamped 12:27 a.m., was taken from a slightly different angle, closer now. By 1:15 a.m., whoever held the camera had moved to stand directly over me, capturing every detail of my unconscious face. The slight part of my lips, the flutter of my eyelashes, even the faint scar above my right eyebrow from a childhood bicycle accident. My fingers froze on the screen as I noticed something in that image that sent ice through my veins. The reflection in my glasses, which I'd forgotten to take off before falling asleep, showed nothing but darkness where the TV's light should have been. Someone had been standing between me and the screen, close enough to block its glow entirely. The photos continued, growing more intimate with each passing hour. 2:03 a.m., a macro shot of my hand, twitching slightly in sleep. 2:47 a.m., a curve of my neck as my head lolled to the side. 3:15 a.m., my face in profile, so close the photographer must have been breathing the same air as me. I lived alone in my modest one-bedroom apartment, a space I'd chosen specifically for its security features. After years of handling cybersecurity for high-profile clients had left me paranoid about privacy. The front door had 3 locks, including a biometric system I'd installed myself. The windows were all fitted with sensors that connected to my phone. Nothing was out of place, but I knew with a certainty that made my skin crawl that I hadn't been alone. Adrenaline surged through my system as I methodically turned on every light in the apartment, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floors. The kitchen was untouched, dishes still drying in the rack from dinner. My home office, with its array of monitors and security equipment, looked exactly as I'd left it. The bathroom door stood open, shower curtain pulled back, revealing nothing but white tile and chrome fixtures. I checked every lock twice. The deadbolt, chain, and smart lock on my front door were all engaged, the latter showing no record of being disengaged since I'd returned from my morning coffee run. The windows in both the living room and bedroom were sealed tight, their sensors showing no activity. Even the small window in the bathroom, barely big enough for a child to squeeze through, remained locked and undisturbed. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. My phone's battery indicator showed 94%. I always kept it charging overnight, a habit born from years of being on call for client emergencies. But I distinctly remembered it being at 20% when I sat down to watch TV, and I hadn't plugged it in. Someone had not only taken these photos, but had also connected my phone to its charger, which still sat plugged into the wall beside my couch. They had been methodical, patient, close enough to touch me, and present long enough to ensure my phone wouldn't die before I could see their handiwork. My first instinct was to call the police, but what evidence did I have? No broken locks, No forced entry, nothing stolen or damaged, just a series of unsettling photographs that could easily be dismissed as some kind of technical glitch, or worse, the product of an overactive imagination. After years of working in cybersecurity, I'd seen enough cases dismissed by skeptical authorities to know how this would play out. Instead, I turned to my own security measures. The camera I'd installed in my living room after a series of break-ins in the building 6 months ago should have captured everything. My hand shook as I pulled up the footage on my laptop, expecting to see a shadowy figure moving through my apartment. The file was there, covering the exact time frame I needed. But when I pressed play, my screen filled with static. 4 hours of corrupted footage. No sound, no movement, just digital snow stretching across the timeline like a blank canvas. I tried every recovery tool I had, every trick I'd learned in my years of digital forensics. Nothing worked. The footage was completely unrecoverable, as if it had been professionally wiped. This wasn't the work of an amateur. Whoever had done this knew exactly how to cover their tracks. Desperate for answers, I returned to the photos, analyzing each one with the attention to detail that had made me successful in my work. That's when I saw it. In the final image timestamped at 3:42 a.m., just 5 minutes before I woke up. In the reflection of my TV screen, partially obscured by the Netflix interface, but unmistakable once you knew what to look for, stood a figure. They were positioned directly behind my couch, looming over me. The image quality was too poor to make out features, but something about their posture suggested they were looking not at me, but at the camera, at their own reflection in the screen. They knew they would be seen. They wanted to be seen. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't a random break-in. This was a message. I spent the next hour combing through my client files, trying to think of anyone who might have a grudge. My work involved finding security vulnerabilities for companies, occasionally exposing insider threats or corporate espionage. I'd made enemies, but none who should have been able to bypass my security so completely. By sunrise, I'd packed a bag and called my sister, making up a story about a water leak in my apartment. I couldn't tell her the truth. Not yet. Not until I understood what was happening. I needed time to think, to plan, to figure out who could have done this and why. Over the next week, I changed everything. New locks, including replacing the biometric system with a different model. New security cameras, this time with redundant backup systems and real-time cloud storage. New phone, new number, new wireless network. I even moved to a different apartment in a more secure building with 24-hour security and cameras in every hallway. But the questions remained, haunting my nights and corrupting my sense of safety. How had they gotten in? Why had they chosen me? And most troublingly, what were they waiting for? Because that's what terrified me most. The feeling that this was just the beginning. They hadn't taken anything. They hadn't harmed me physically. They had simply wanted me to know they could. That my locks, my security systems, my careful paranoia meant nothing. They could reach me anytime they wanted. Sometimes, late at night, when sleep refuses to come, I find myself staring at my phone's battery indicator. Every time it shows full charge, without my remembering plugging it in, my heart stops for a moment. Every unexplained sound sends me checking my camera feeds. Every shadow in my peripheral vision might be a figure standing just out of sight, because I know now that safety is an illusion. We surround ourselves with technology meant to protect us, but those same systems can become vulnerabilities. Every camera can be turned against us. Every lock can be picked. Every security measure can be circumvented by someone skilled enough, patient enough, determined enough. And somewhere out there, someone is watching, waiting, planning their next visit. The photos are still on my old phone, locked away in a safe deposit box as evidence of that night. Sometimes I'm tempted to look at them again, to search for clues I might have missed. But I know what I'll find. Just more questions, more uncertainty, and that final image with its half-hidden figure standing in the darkness behind my couch. Watching, always watching. The most terrifying part. Deep down, I know they're still out there, and next time, they might do more than just take pictures.